Hey buddy, welcome back to Headlines. How was your weekend? Did you have a good time? For most Chinese people, resilient is a pretty positive word. If you say someone is resilient, you deeply prize his or her ability and strength to overcome all kinds of difficulties, and there are unalterable resolutions no matter how dismissive and arrogant other people might act. But according to Harvard Business Review, resilience has been misused and overused. Therefore, it becomes an excuse that turns us away from discovering and solving the real problems. Resilience has become such an overused and celebrated concept that it can become a cop-out. When it comes to people from marginalized groups, assuming that the hardships they have experienced creates thick skin is insensitive and othering. The adjective celebrated comes from the verb celebrate, but there is a subtle difference. Celebrated concept is famous and highly praised concept. If you get tired of using famous, you could swap it with celebrated, acclaimed, renowned, and admired. A celebrated writer, film, or victory. A cop-out is to avoid the responsibility of doing something, 逃避. Actually, an excuse can be called a cop-out. You agreed to go. You can't cop out now. The film cops out with the improbable ending. 草草就结尾了。听起来 cop out 和 cold feet 以及 chicken out 很像，但是后两者呢，一般是因为害怕或者是缺乏勇气而临阵退缩了。cop out 就是逃避，或者就是避重就轻。Hardship is a difficult situation. Hardships of life, 生活的苦难 economic hardship, 经济拮据 thick skin is brazen-faced, 厚脸皮 Other as a verb is the sociological term. It is a phenomenon that some groups are labeled not fitting in within the mainstream social norms. 就是他者化排他 Marginalized people are prone to being othered by society. Othering is the ideology in action we need to combat. 很多人认为边缘人群因为他们经历了作为那个人群的苦难，所以在其他地方如果遇到困难，他们也会更有韧性，一样能够生存下来。这个想法其实是冷漠和排他的。Rather than throwing the baby out with the bathwater, there are 3 steps leaders can take to adapt how we think about resilience to account for these biases and the resulting inequities. Throw the baby out with the bathwater is the idiom, which means to lose something important while trying to get rid of the unwanted thing. 把洗澡水倒掉的同时把婴儿也给倒出去了。我觉得可以理解为因噎废食。Account for has several senses. Number 1, account for a proportion, 占比。Asians account for more than half of the world population. Number 2, account for a situation, difference, or change. 对什么东西做出解释，或者为什么东西负责。How do you account for where the money came from? Or the experiment didn't account for all cases. Number 3, money is accounted for. 钱什么的被算进来了。Outsourcing wasn't accounted for. 外包的费用没有被算进来。我们认为 resilience 要为偏见以及由此带来的不平等的观念负责。其实你换句话讲，就是 resilience 可能会导致这些偏见和不平等的观念。Develop a clear understanding of what true resilience is and what it isn't. Resilience is not about gritting your teeth and suffering quietly, and it's more than simply developing thick skin. Resilience is about our ability to find hope and agency amid difficulty. Grit your teeth 就是咬紧牙关 which generally shows courage and resilience. Agency here refers to action or power. 能动性，像我们平时说的主观能动性就是 subjective agency, human agency, 人类的能动性。第一步就是区分到底什么是 resilience， 它不是咬紧牙关默默受苦让你变得强韧，而是在困难中去寻找希望和能动性的这种能力。Consider how shared challenges impact people differently. A good leader will be attentive to these various demands and dynamics at 3 different levels: personal, organizational, and systemic. 第二步呢是要考虑到共同的挑战 shared challenge 可能会以不同的方式影响不同的人。Poverty is a shared challenge around the globe. Someone who is attentive is careful to one's needs or the details. For example, attentive reader or service. Be attentive to 对什么东西很留心，一个好的领导会留心个人、组织以及系统3个层次上的需求。Don't use perceived individual resilience to deflect real systemic problems. Too often, we use resilience as a mechanism to put the onus on the individual managing the problem rather than taking responsibility for the problem itself. At its worst, resilience is a corporate cop-out that enables us to deflect responsibility to the person dealing with the fallout. Worse still, when that person is not able to manage the pressure, we blame them and say they just weren't resilient enough. 第三点就是不要用能察觉到的个体的坚韧去回避实际存在的系统性问题。Deflect means to avoid as well as to prevent. It may seem different, but actually they are two sides of the same coin. For example, deflect attention from public crisis, 转移对危机事件的注意力。Disability for his hands didn't deflect him from being a writer. 手上的残疾不能阻止他成为一名作家。Put onus on is to put the responsibility on somebody. Fallout is unpleasant aftermath. 不好的余波或者是后果。A radioactive fallout 就是辐射尘。Emotional fallout from a breakup. 我们经常会把需要机构或者是组织上解决的问题的责任转移到个人应对困难的能力上去。It reminds me of the victim blame. Is it the girls who are to blame for inviting the assault by wearing short dress or going out late at night? This is Headlines. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.